The elevator doors closed with a tired mechanical groan on the 32nd floor of the Bay Tower in downtown Vancouver. She was talking to no one. Emma Thompson stood straight in the corner, her back pressed against the cold metal wall, practicing answers to questions she hoped would finally change her life. Her voice stayed low but steady. Her hands, however, were shaking badly, so she hid them behind her back and pressed her nails deep into her palms the way she always did when fear tried to take over. She had no idea that the tall man who had stepped in on the 35th floor was watching her quietly. He had not pressed any button. He simply stood there listening. His name was Marcus Blackwell, the founder and CEO of Blackwell Capital, a $2.8 billion empire. To the outside world, he was known as a cold, brilliant man who destroyed companies and built fortunes. Very few knew the pain hidden behind his success. The old elevator moved slowly upward. Emma kept rehearsing. "Tell me about yourself," she whispered. "My name is Emma Thompson. I am a single mother of 2 beautiful children. For the last 3 years I have worked as an administrative assistant while raising them completely alone." She paused for a moment, then continued. "My greatest weakness is time. Not managing it, but having enough of it. I have a 6-year-old daughter who needs heart surgery and a 9-year-old son who has started asking me if we will be homeless again this winter." Marcus Blackwell did not move. His phone stayed dark in his hand. He listened to every single word as the elevator passed the 28th floor. He had planned to get off at 30, but his finger never reached the button. Emma kept going, her voice growing a little stronger. "I have been to 52 interviews in 29 months. 52 times I sat across from people who saw the gap on my resume and decided I was too much of a risk. They never asked what that gap really meant. They never asked about the nights I slept in hospital chairs or the days I chose between buying medicine and buying food for my kids." The elevator reached the 38th floor. Emma straightened her old blazer, took one deep breath, and stepped out without looking back. Marcus waited exactly 4 seconds, then followed her quietly. She turned left toward the reception desk. He turned right toward his private office. She still had no idea who he was. 3 years earlier, Emma had woken up at 4:47 in the morning to the sound of her daughter Lily coughing so hard it sounded like her small body was breaking. She rushed to her side, placed a cold cloth on her burning forehead, and whispered over and over, "Mommy is here, baby." Lily had a serious congenital heart condition. The surgery she needed would cost $187,000. Insurance would cover almost nothing. Her husband had disappeared the same week they received the diagnosis, leaving her with nothing but debts and 2 terrified children. That same morning, Emma had exactly $41 in her bank account. She ironed her only good blouse on the kitchen counter, made breakfast for her kids, dropped them at a kind neighbor's house, and took 3 different buses to another interview. She did not get the job. That night, after her children finally fell asleep, she sat on the cold bathroom floor and cried until she could not breathe anymore. But before the sun rose, she made herself a promise. She would not let her children grow up with the same constant fear that was slowly killing her. From that night, she began preparing like her life depended on it. She bought a cheap black notebook and started writing down every question from every interview, every answer she gave, and every better way she could have answered. 52 interviews became 52 lessons written in small, careful handwriting. Today was going to be number 53. When Emma walked into the sleek interview room on the 38th floor, she froze completely. Sitting at the head of the long glass table was the same man from the elevator. Marcus Blackwell looked at her with calm, unreadable eyes and said quietly, "Before we begin the formal questions, Miss Thompson, I would like you to tell me again exactly what you said in the elevator about your greatest weakness." The room went completely silent. Emma felt her heart stop. How much had he heard? How long had he been listening? And why was the most powerful man in the building asking her this question himself? Emma stood frozen in the interview room. The glass table reflected the Vancouver skyline behind her, but she could barely see it. Marcus Blackwell sat directly in front of her, calm and composed like he had all the time in the world. 2 other executives, a woman in a sharp black suit and a man in his 50s, sat on either side of him. They looked surprised that the CEO himself was leading the interview. Marcus leaned forward slightly and repeated his question. "I heard what you said in the elevator about your greatest weakness. I want to hear it again here in this room. No performance. Just the truth." Emma felt her throat tighten. For a second she considered lying or giving a safe corporate answer. But something in Marcus' eyes told her he already knew everything. She took a slow breath and decided to speak the same way she had spoken in that elevator. "My greatest weakness is time," she said softly. "Not managing it, but never having enough of it. I am a single mother. My daughter Lily is 6 years old and she needs heart surgery that we cannot afford. My son Noah is 9 and he has learned to pack his school bag every night in case we have to move again suddenly. Every hour I spend at work is an hour I am paying someone else to watch my children. So I have learned to be worth more per hour than most people are willing to accept. Not because I am smarter, but because I have no choice to be slower. The room stayed completely quiet. The female executive shifted uncomfortably in her seat. The other man stopped taking notes. Marcus, however, did not break eye contact even for a moment. He asked another question. Why do you want this job, Miss Thompson? Not the version you prepared. The real reason. Emma looked down at her hands for a brief second, then looked back up. Stability, she said. I want to be in one place long enough that my daughter stops drawing pictures of hospitals and my son stops asking if we are going to lose our home again. I want to wake up in the morning without calculating whether today I can afford both medicine and food. I want my children to feel safe for the first time in their lives. Marcus listened without interrupting. Something in his expression changed, but it was so subtle that only someone watching very carefully would notice. He knew exactly what she was talking about. Because many years ago his own mother had spoken almost the same words in a different city in a different life. The interview continued for another 30 minutes. Emma answered every question with honesty and precision. She did not try to impress them with big words. She simply told the truth the way only someone who has nothing left to lose can tell it. When the interview finally ended, Marcus stood up first and extended his hand. Thank you for coming, Emma. We will let you know soon. Emma shook his hand, nodded politely to the others and walked out of the room. Her legs felt weak. She had no idea whether she had impressed them or completely ruined her chances. As she waited for the elevator again, she whispered to herself, please God, just this once. What she did not know was that inside the interview room the conversation had not ended. The female executive spoke first. She is clearly competent, but that employment gap of 14 months is a red flag. We cannot ignore the stability indicators, Marcus. Our process exists for a reason. Marcus leaned back in his chair and for the first time smiled slightly. He reached into his pocket and took out an old worn photograph. It showed a young woman standing outside a small factory holding the hand of a little boy. That little boy was Marcus himself many years ago. My mother worked 2 jobs and still could not afford to fix her own health problems, he said quietly. She died when I was 23. The system we built here would have rejected her too. Today I heard a woman who reminded me of her. Not in her story, but in her fight. He looked at both executives. I want her file on my desk in 1 hour. We are not following the standard process this time. Meanwhile, Emma had reached the ground floor. She stepped out into the cold Vancouver air and for the first time in months allowed herself to feel a small spark of hope. She did not know that the man from the elevator had already made a decision that would change her life forever. But decisions like this always come with a price. Emma took the long bus ride back to her small apartment in Surrey. The journey took almost 90 minutes. She sat by the window watching the city pass by, but her mind was still stuck in that interview room. Every few minutes she replayed Marcus Blackwell's question in her head. Why had he asked her about the elevator? How much had he really heard? She shook her head, trying to push the thoughts away. Hope was dangerous. She had learned that lesson too many times. When she reached home, her neighbor, Mrs. Garcia, was waiting with the children. Lily ran into her arms immediately. Noah tried to act strong, but his eyes asked the question he always asked after every interview. Did we get it this time, Mom? Emma smiled tiredly and kissed both of them. We will see, babies. Let's eat first. That night after the children slept, Emma sat at a small kitchen table with her black notebook open. She wrote down every question from the interview and every answer she had given. She marked the ones she thought went well and revised the ones she felt could have been better. Then she turned to the last page of the notebook where her late mother had written something years ago in her beautiful handwriting. 3 simple lines. Your name. How hard you work when no one is watching. How you walk into a room. Emma touched those words gently. Her mother had worked as a cleaner in hospitals for 28 years. She never missed a single day, even when she was sick. She died quietly in a hospital bed with no one except Emma by her side. Those 3 lines were the only inheritance Emma had received. She closed the notebook and whispered, "Good night, Mom. I tried my best today." The next morning at exactly 8:17, Emma's phone rang. An unknown number. She answered it with the same calm voice she used for bill collectors and landlords. "Hello, this is Emma." A deep voice replied on the other end. "Good morning, Miss Thompson. This is Marcus Blackwell. I would like to offer you the position." Emma nearly dropped the phone. She stood completely still in her tiny kitchen holding the peanut butter jar in one hand. For a few seconds she could not speak. Marcus continued. "You will start on Monday at 8:30. The role is executive assistant to the CEO. Salary is $128,000 per year plus full benefits including complete medical coverage for your family." Emma's legs felt weak. She sat down slowly on the kitchen chair. Tears started falling from her eyes, but her voice stayed steady. "Thank you, sir. I will not disappoint you." Marcus paused for a moment, then said something she did not expect. "Emma, the elevator was not an accident. I heard everything. And I did not hire you because I felt sorry for you. I hired you because you are the realest person I have met in 15 years of building this company. Be ready on Monday." He hung up. Emma sat there for a long time crying quietly so she would not wake the children. For the first time in years, the heavy weight on her chest felt a little lighter. But she had no idea what was waiting for her at Blackwell Capital. Monday morning arrived. Emma reached the office at 8:12. She wore the same blazer she had worn for the interview, carefully cleaned and pressed. When she stepped out of the elevator on the 38th floor, the receptionist greeted her with a warm smile. "Welcome to the team, Emma. Mr. Blackwell is already waiting for you in his office." Emma walked down the long corridor. Her heart was beating fast. When she entered the large corner office, Marcus was standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows looking at the city. He turned around, and for the first time she saw a different expression on his face. Not the cold CEO from the interview, but something almost human. "Sit down, Emma," he said. "Before we start working, there are some things you need to know about me and about this company." What Marcus told her next completely shocked her. He had grown up poor. His mother had worked night shifts cleaning offices while raising him alone. He had built Blackwell Capital from nothing, but he had also built walls around himself so high that almost no one could reach him. He admitted that the systems in his own company would have rejected someone like Emma without a second thought. Then he looked directly at her and said the words that changed everything. "I want you to help me change that, Emma. Not just for you. For people like my mother. Like you. Like your children. But changing a $2.8 billion company is never easy. And not everyone in the company was happy with the CEO's new favorite employee." Emma's first week at Blackwell Capital felt like a dream and a nightmare at the same time. The salary was life-changing. The medical benefits meant Lily could finally get the surgery she needed. But the office environment was cold and full of politics. Some people smiled at her in the hallways while whispering behind her back. They called her the elevator girl. They said she got the job because the CEO felt sorry for her. Marcus, however, gave her real work from day one. He asked her to sit in important meetings. He made her read company reports and give honest feedback. He treated her like someone whose opinion mattered. In the evenings when the office was quiet, he sometimes shared small pieces of his own story. One Thursday night after everyone had left, Marcus asked Emma to stay back. They sat in his large office with the city lights sparkling outside the glass walls. "I built this company to prove something," he said quietly. "I wanted to show the world that someone from nothing could become everything. But somewhere along the way, I became the same system that once rejected my mother." Emma listened carefully. She understood his pain because she had lived her own version of it. The next morning, everything changed again. Emma received an anonymous email. It contained old photos of her from the time she was struggling. Photos from when she was working 2 jobs and living in a shelter for 3 months. The email said if you don't resign within 7 days, these photos will be sent to every employee in the company. Emma felt her stomach drop. She had worked so hard to build a new life. The thought of her colleagues seeing her at her lowest point terrified her. She sat in the bathroom stall during lunch and cried silently. For a moment she thought about quitting. It would be easier. Safer. But then she remembered her mother's words in the notebook. How you walk into a room. She wiped her tears, walked straight to Marcus' office and showed him the email. Marcus read it once. His face became hard like stone. He looked at Emma and said, "I will handle this. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" Emma nodded, even though fear was screaming inside her chest. What happened next shocked the entire company. Marcus called an emergency all-hands meeting for the 38th floor. Over 80 people gathered in the large conference hall. Emma stood at the back, feeling every eye on her. Marcus walked to the front and did something no one expected. He projected the anonymous email on the big screen for everyone to see. Then he spoke in a voice that was calm but carried absolute authority. This company was built by people who were told they were not enough. My mother cleaned offices at night so I could study. Emma Thompson fought through 52 rejections and still showed up prepared. If anyone in this room thinks they can destroy good people to protect their own insecurity, then you do not belong here. The room was dead silent. Marcus looked directly at Emma and said in front of everyone, "Welcome to the real Blackwell Capital, Emma. You are not here because of sympathy. You are here because you earned it the hardest way possible." That moment broke something inside Emma. For the first time in years she felt seen. Truly seen. But the person who sent that email was still in the building. And they were not finished yet. The weeks that followed were the hardest and most beautiful of Emma's life. The person behind the anonymous email turned out to be a senior manager who felt threatened by Emma's rapid rise. Marcus handled the situation quietly but firmly. The manager was let go. But more importantly, Marcus started changing things inside the company. He asked Emma to help create a new hiring program that looked beyond resume gaps and focused on real character and determination. Lily got her surgery 2 months later. It was successful. When Emma brought her daughter home from the hospital, Noah hugged both of them and whispered, "We are going to be okay now, right, Mom?" Emma cried and said, "Yes, baby, we are going to be more than okay." One evening, almost 6 months after that first elevator ride, Marcus asked Emma to join him for a meeting. When she walked into the conference room, she was surprised to see only 2 chairs. Marcus was already sitting there. He looked at her for a long moment, then spoke. "Emma, I have been thinking about my mother a lot lately. She never got the chances you are getting now. I want to do something bigger than just one job. I want to create a foundation that helps single parents who are fighting the way you fought. And I want you to lead it." Emma was speechless. She had come looking for a job. She had found purpose. Over the next 2 years, Emma's life transformed completely. She became the face of the new foundation. She helped hundreds of mothers and fathers who were once where she had been. She bought a small house with a backyard where Lily and Noah could play safely. She never stopped carrying her black notebook. It reminded her where she came from. Marcus and Emma never became romantic. Their relationship was built on deep respect and shared understanding of struggle. He became a mentor and a friend. Someone who had finally learned that true strength includes kindness. On the 3rd anniversary of that elevator ride, Emma stood on the stage at a big company event. The hall was full of employees, new hires, and many single parents invited from the foundation. Marcus was sitting in the front row watching her with quiet pride. Emma looked at the crowd and spoke from her heart. 3 years ago, I stood in an elevator practicing for a job I was terrified I would not get. I did not know that the man standing next to me would change my life. But today, I want every person here to understand something. Your struggle is not the end of your story. The way you walk into a room when no one believes in you, that is what defines you. Keep practicing. Keep fighting. The right doors will open. The entire hall stood up and clapped. Noah and Lily were sitting in the front row waving at their mother with tears in their eyes. Later that night, as Emma tucked her children into bed, Lily asked her a question. "Mommy, are you a hero now?" Emma smiled softly and kissed her forehead. "No, baby. I am just a mother who refused to give up. And that is enough." Outside the window, the Vancouver lights shone brightly. The same city that once felt cold and unforgiving now felt like home. And somewhere in the quiet of his office, Marcus Blackwell opened his wallet and looked at the old photo of his mother. He smiled. The elevator had done its job.